partisan members of Congress from several different committees this week have been told in briefings that U.S. officials believe Russia is likely to invade Ukraine, despite this continuing narrative that Putin has not made up his mind. They're saying that satellites, signals intelligence, and human intelligence is all telling the same story. What they're seeing and hearing is about to happen. And the president's comments last night seemed to corroborate that to a certain degree, where he said, my guess is Putin will move in. So why wouldn't the U.S. introduce sort of level 1 sanctions as proactive deterrence and then remove them if Russia de-escalates?
Well, one, I said 2 days ago, we're now at a stage where Russia could at any point launch an attack in Ukraine. And we've been pretty transparent about what we're seeing, both in our briefings, but also in our engagements with all of you and in our conversations with our European partners. I would note that this morning the Treasury Department did announce sanctions on individuals who've engaged in influence activities directed by the Russian governments. This action was part of our ongoing, long-standing efforts to counter Russia's network of influence efforts and to expose Russia's dangerous, threatening, and ongoing campaign to destabilize Ukraine. These individuals are at the heart of Russia's destabilizing campaign in Ukraine, and we stand united with the Ukrainian government. We are not waiting to take action to counter Russia. We see what they're doing. We are disrupting it. And these actions are also, of course, separate and distinct from the broad range of high-impact, severe measures we and our allies are prepared to impose in order to inflict significant costs should they invade.
The president said he thinks Putin will test the West. Isn't that in some way already happening? And why are we spending this time debating what to do after an invasion rather than mitigate the risk of one in advance of that happening, especially because this buildup is already causing economic consequences for the U.S., having to send additional aid? Shouldn't the threat of an invasion also carry serious economic
Well, I
consequences?
just referred to Treasury sanctions we announced this morning, right? We've also provided more assistance to Ukraine than any year in history, including defense assistance. Those are. But again, what we're making decisions on based on decades of experience the president has and decades of experience of our foreign policy team and through consultation with our partners on what is going to be the most effective step. President Putin is going to make the choice he's going to make. Either he's going to decide to invade Ukraine and suffer severe economic consequences, or he's going to decide to engage in diplomatic discussions. It's important to remember who the aggressor is here. The aggressor is Russia and Putin. They are building up military troops. They are pushing out misinformation in Ukraine. That's who we need to keep our focus on and make sure we're educating the public about their actions. Go ahead.
Where do deliberations stand on the broader economic sanctions that you're planning? Has the president given a final sign-off on a package?
I don't have an update on that. I believe, Steve, that we're continuing to consider a range of options and haven't ruled out any that have been reported, but I don't have an update on the internal status.
Peter asked you whether you've been in touch with the Ukrainians.
Yeah.
Have any allies sought clarification of the president's remarks?
Well, Secretary Blinken saw his European counterparts this morning. I don't have any. I know he just spoke and I think answered questions, but I didn't see the full totality of that. But certainly he reiterated what you heard the president say this morning, what the president has also conveyed directly to President Putin. And we have been in such close contact, I think over 100 engagements over the last several weeks with our European partners and counterparts, with our NATO partners, with the OSCE, with the EU, to make sure we're working in alignment and in lockstep about how we're going to approach any actions President Putin takes.
The president talked a little bit about the possibility of another summit with President Putin. What about a phone call over the next few days just to try to fix things?
I don't have anything to predict on that front, Steve. I would say that, as you know, last week there were 3 rounds of discussions. This week, Secretary Blinken is, of course, in Europe, and there was also a bipartisan congressional delegation there. The president has been in touch with all of them. I expect when Secretary Blinken comes back, they'll discuss with the national security team what the right next steps are.